Hey, welcome. So today we're diving into something that is a really tough and honestly a really urgent ethical puzzle. To build a greener future, do we actually have to harm the Earth first? We're going to look at this whole thing through the unique lens of a worldview called Anima Gaia.
Okay, let's just jump right in because here's the paradox at the heart of it all. Building a world powered by renewable energy, we're talking solar panels, wind turbines, electric cars, the whole deal, it requires a massive amount of copper. But, and it's a big but, getting that copper means more mining. And mining is a profoundly disruptive act. It leaves a scar. So what on earth is the right thing to do? And this really gets to the core of the dilemma. It's a trade-off. Do we stick with the ongoing, relentless harm of fossil fuels? The stuff that damages our climate, our oceans, our air, every single day? Or do we accept a significant but front-loaded harm, this one-time wound from mining, to build a system that can finally stop that daily damage? It's a really tough choice, right? To help us even start to think our way through this, we're going to use a specific ethical framework. It's called Anima Gaia, and it's a belief system that doesn't see the world as just a collection of resources for us to use. Instead, it sees the Earth as a single, interconnected, living being. So, the foundation of Anima Gaia is this really powerful idea that the divine isn't some separate being up in the sky. It's the animating force that's within everything: the soil, the trees, the animals, and yeah, us too. It calls this force the living breath, and it suggests our whole purpose is to learn how to live in harmony with it. And from that core idea, you get these guiding principles, and they create this really powerful ethical compass. The whole focus shifts away from dominating nature to being a good steward of it. And it shifts from just taking what we want to this idea of reciprocity. Every single being has value, because in this view, we're all just threads in one single great weave. And this right here, this boils every single ethical decision down to one simple but incredibly profound question. For someone who follows Anima Gaia, the ultimate test for any action, whether it's building a house or mining for copper, is just this. Does it nurture the vitality and the balance of the whole living system? Does it increase the love of life? Okay, so with that foundation in our minds, how would a worldview that sees the Earth as a living body even begin to think about and act like mining? This analogy just gets right to the heart of the perspective. Mining isn't just digging a hole in the ground. It's seen as performing surgery. Think about that for a second. It's invasive. It's risky. It's something you would only consider under the most serious of circumstances, and you'd never, ever do it lightly. It is never just business. So from that perspective, any mining that's done purely for profit or just to fuel luxury consumption or to feed our throwaway culture, well, that's seen as a complete violation of sacred limits. It's treating the Earth like a dead thing to be exploited, which is basically a sacrilege within this worldview. So, if mining is surgery, could it ever possibly be justified? Well, the answer is maybe, but only if you follow a very, very strict hierarchical set of conditions for what you might even call consent. Now, this is not a checklist where you get to pick and choose what you like. It is a sequence. It's a hierarchy. And the very first moral command before you do anything else is to just need less, period. Then, you have to exhaust every single option for recycling and reusing materials we already have. Only after you've done all that can you even begin to consider new extraction. And even then, some places are just completely off limits. The final gatekeeper? Absolute consent from the local and indigenous communities. And that, of course, brings us to a really crucial point about those last two steps. When a vital resource like copper is found on land that is sacred, particularly to indigenous peoples, who gets to make that final call? Well, the Anima Gaia ethic argues that a simple majority vote is deeply unjust in a case like this. I mean, it allows a whole population that doesn't have to bear any of the direct consequences, the risks, the pollution, the cultural loss, to impose its will on the one community whose entire existence might be tied to that specific place. And this leads us straight to the concept of free, prior, and informed consent. The key here, the most important part, is that it's not just a consultation. It's not just listening. It is the absolute right to say no. This is seen as a fundamental safeguard against repeating the historical injustices where certain lands and certain peoples were treated as sacrifice zones for the benefit of others. Okay, so after we've applied this entire really demanding framework, from reducing our demand all the way to ensuring genuine consent, what's the final verdict? What about mining more copper for the green transition? It's a reluctant acceptance. A really somber one. The logic is that it's better to perform this limited, controlled surgery right now in order to build a future that finally stops the continuous, systemic poisoning of the planet's entire climate and oceans from burning fossil fuels. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's choosing a managed harm to prevent a catastrophic one.
But, and this is a huge but, this is a solemn compromise, not a free pass. It comes with non-negotiable conditions. The mining must be a temporary bridge to a circular economy, not a new normal. It must be minimal, only what's absolutely needed. It has to be just, meaning communities give consent and share in the benefits. And every single project has to include a binding plan to heal the land when it's all over.
And finally, this ethical framework, it doesn't just stop with a decision about a specific mine. It actually points toward a much, much deeper issue for all of us.
Ultimately, the need for constant extraction is just a symptom. The root cause, according to this worldview, is a culture that relentlessly values having more over being more. It's a society that's basically built on a foundation of endless consumption. And this slide kind of outlines a potential path forward. It suggests that true sustainability isn't just about switching from a gas car to an electric car. It's about fundamentally redesigning our societies to make low-consumption lives not only possible, but actually easier and more desirable for everyone.
And so, this is where we end. This framework leaves us with a really challenging thought. If even our best intentions, even our efforts to build a greener world, require this surgery on the Earth, what does that act of wounding ask of us in return? What is our responsibility in this solemn compromise? It's a heavy question, but definitely one worth reflecting on. Thanks so much for watching.